Your purpose is to be you as fully as you can, and the way that's perhaps most easily done is to act on your highest joy. You may have noticed something strange by now. There are moments when your body reacts before you think. Moments when it tightens, relaxes, responds, or resists, without waiting for permission from your thoughts. Not because something went wrong, but because something else is already in motion. Most people are taught to see the body as the starting point, a system that breaks, a machine that needs fixing, a result of past damage, genetics, or time. But what if the body is not where things begin? What if the body is where things arrive? This video explores a perspective that quietly rearranges how healing, pain, and physical change are understood. Not through effort, not through force, and not through belief alone, but through state. Not the kind of state you try to hold, the kind you already inhabit, often without noticing. This matters now because more people are doing everything right and still feeling disconnected from their own physical experience. They change habits, they follow advice, they seek answers, and yet the body seems to have a mind of its own. What if it does, but not in the way you think? In the next few minutes, we're not going to talk about techniques, we're not going to talk about positive thinking, and we're not going to talk about fighting symptoms. We're going to look at a quieter idea, that the body is responding moment by moment to the version of you that is active, not the one you wish you were, but the one that is currently present. This doesn't mean blame, and it doesn't mean control. It means orientation. Because one of the most common misunderstandings around healing is the assumption that the body needs to be convinced, corrected, or overridden. From this perspective, the body isn't broken. It's obedient. Not obedient to effort, not obedient to fear, but obedient to coherence. And coherence doesn't come from trying harder. It comes from alignment. That word gets used loosely, so let's be clear. Alignment here doesn't mean feeling good all the time. It doesn't mean avoiding discomfort, and it doesn't mean pretending things are fine. Alignment means that what you are being, what you are assuming, and what you are perceiving are not in conflict. When they are in conflict, the body reflects that tension, not as punishment, but as feedback. This is where many people get stuck. They assume pain means failure. They assume symptoms mean something went wrong. They assume the body is opposing them. But what if the body is actually agreeing with you, just not with the story you tell yourself about what you believe? Pause here for a moment. Consider this idea gently. Your body doesn't respond to what you say you want. It responds to what you are aligned with. That alignment isn't always conscious. In fact, it often isn't. And this is where things become interesting. Because when someone asks whether the body can heal no matter what has happened, they're usually thinking in linear terms: past injury, past damage, past trauma. But from this perspective, healing isn't about repairing a past version of the body. It's about shifting into a present version where that condition isn't active. That may sound abstract at first, so let's ground it. You don't experience one continuous, unchanging body moving through time. You experience a sequence of moments, each one slightly different, stitched together by memory and expectation. From one moment to the next, cells change, sensations change, signals change. You already accept this at a basic level. You don't expect your body to be exactly the same as it was 10 years ago, or even 10 minutes ago. So what if healing isn't a process of fixing a damaged object, but a process of selecting a different continuity? Not by force, but by resonance. Here's a simple way to think about it. You are not inside the body is inside your experience. That doesn't make the body unreal, it makes it responsive, and responsiveness changes everything. This doesn't mean you ignore physical reality, it doesn't mean you deny sensations, and it doesn't mean you refuse support. It means you stop assuming that the body is the source of the problem. Instead, you begin to notice that the body is expressing a relationship between how you are oriented internally and what is being reflected externally. Many people hear this and immediately think, so it's all in my head. That's not what this points to. It's not in your head, it's in your state. And your state isn't just thoughts, it's assumptions, it's definitions. It's what feels normal to you, it's what you return to when you stop trying. This is why effort often backfires, because effort implies resistance. And resistance reinforces the very state the body is responding to. Around this point, it helps to notice something subtle. You don't consciously choose most of your reactions. You notice them after they happen. The body tenses, the breath shortens, the energy drops or spikes. These are not mistakes, they are indicators. They show you what state you are actually in, not what you think you're in. And that information is valuable because you can't shift what you're not aware of. Here's a gentle reframe that often unlocks something. Instead of asking, "Why is my body doing this to me?" ask, "What version of me is this body responding to right now?" Not yesterday's version, not the version you want to become, the one that's active in this moment. This isn't about judgment, it's about orientation. And orientation can change, not instantly because you demand it, but naturally when the internal conflict resolves. One of the reasons this perspective is often misunderstood is because people assume change has to be dramatic to be real. They expect fireworks. They expect sudden relief. They expect a clear moment where everything flips. But real shifts are usually quieter. They feel like recognition, like something settling into place, like tension releasing, not because it was forced, but because it was no longer needed. This is also why suffering isn't seen as punishment here. Suffering is misalignment made visible, not a failure, a signal. And signals don't require guilt. They require interpretation. If you misinterpret a signal, you react to it. If you understand it, you respond. That difference matters. Let's take a moment to reset the frame. So far, we're not talking about controlling the body. We're talking about understanding the relationship between consciousness and physical expression. We're not talking about ignoring pain. We're talking about understanding why pain persists. And we're not talking about becoming someone else. We're talking about allowing a different version of yourself to become accessible. This is where the idea of parallel versions becomes useful, not as a belief, but as a model. At any given moment, there are countless ways you could be experiencing yourself. Different moods, different responses, different levels of ease. You don't experience all of them. You experience one. And that one isn't random. It's selected through resonance. You tune into it by being it. Not by wishing, not by forcing, but by aligning. This is why trying to heal often keeps the focus on being unhealed, and focus reinforces state. Around this point, and this is important, many people realize something quietly. They've been fighting symptoms instead of listening to them, not because they were wrong, but because no one showed them another way. So let's soften this. If the body is obedient, what is it obeying? Not thoughts in isolation, not affirmations, not desires. It obeys coherence. When what you believe, what you expect, and what you assume line up, the body follows. When they conflict, the body reflects the conflict. That's it. No drama, no blame, just physics. At this stage, it helps to notice how often people say things like, "I keep ending up here," or "I always fall back into this." Language like that sounds passive, but it hides an assumption. The assumption that the state is happening to them. From this perspective, patterns persist because they feel familiar, not because they are imposed. Familiarity is powerful. The body responds to what feels normal, even if that normal includes tension, fatigue, or discomfort, not because it prefers pain, but because it prefers consistency. And consistency feels safe. This explains something many people struggle with. They imagine a healthier version of themselves, and it feels distant, unfamiliar, almost unrealistic. Meanwhile, the current state, even if uncomfortable, feels known. The body follows the known, so the shift doesn't begin with chasing health. It begins with making alignment feel natural, not forced, not idealized, just normal. This is where effort softens into allowance. And allowance doesn't mean doing nothing. It means stopping the internal argument. One of the quiet realizations that emerges here is that you don't have to convince the body to heal. You only have to stop insisting that it can't. That insistence is rarely conscious. It shows up as definitions like, "This is just how my body is. This runs in my family. I've always had this issue. I need to manage this forever." These aren't facts. They're agreements. And agreements can change, not by fighting them, but by noticing them. Around the 3-minute mark in this kind of exploration, something often clicks for listeners. They realize that what's being discussed isn't mystical, it's practical. Because once you see the body as responsive rather than defective, your entire relationship with it changes. And later, much later, this understanding connects to a broader realization about identity itself. We'll come back to that. For now, stay with this. If the body reflects state, then healing is not about correcting the body. It's about resolving the state that no longer matches who you are becoming. That doesn't happen through pressure. It happens through clarity. Let's reset again. Up to this point, nothing here requires belief. It only requires observation. You can observe how your body responds when you feel at ease versus when you feel tense. You can observe how symptoms fluctuate with mood, context, and expectation. You don't have to explain it yet. Just notice it. Notice that the body is not static, it's dynamic, and dynamics respond to input. The most consistent input isn't what you eat or do, though those matter. It's how you orient yourself internally. That orientation is subtle, but it's constant. And because it's constant, it shapes the reflection. This is why alignment is emphasized over effort. Effort is intermittent, state is continuous, and the body listens to what's continuous. As we move forward, the next layer of this perspective will explore how suffering loses its meaning when it's understood as feedback rather than failure. Not to dismiss it, but to contextualize it, and how intentional forgetting plays a role in why this feels difficult at first. Because if this were obvious, you would have noticed it long ago. The forgetting is part of the design, and remembering doesn't happen all at once. It happens in moments like this, where something feels familiar, even if it's new. Before we continue deeper, you might find it interesting to reflect quietly on this. Has there been a time when your body responded differently, simply because your perception shifted, not because anything external changed? If something comes to mind, you don't need to analyze it. Just notice it. We'll build from here. As this perspective settles, something subtle often begins to shift, not in the body first, but in how the body is interpreted. Because once you stop seeing physical symptoms as enemies, you stop bracing against them. And when you stop bracing, the internal noise lowers. That quiet matters more than most people realize. Many people believe healing requires adding something, a method, a practice, a discipline, but very often, what's missing isn't an action. It's the absence of resistance. Resistance doesn't always look dramatic. Sometimes it looks like constant monitoring, checking, evaluating, waiting for change. That kind of attention seems responsible, but it carries an assumption. Something is wrong and needs to be fixed. The body responds to that assumption, not by rebelling, by agreeing. This is why two people can experience similar conditions very differently. One feels trapped, the other feels temporarily inconvenienced. The difference isn't optimism, it's identification. One person sees the condition as who they are. The other sees it as something passing through experience. The body reflects that distinction. Let's pause and reset the frame again. Up to now, we've explored the idea that the body is responsive to state, not effort. Now we're going to look at why certain states persist even when someone consciously wants change. This is where unconscious definitions come into play. Most people think beliefs are ideas they can list, things they say they believe, but the most influential beliefs aren't spoken. They're assumed. They show up as what feels obvious, what feels inevitable, what feels just the way it is. These assumptions form a background frequency, and the body tunes to that frequency continuously. For example, someone might consciously believe healing is possible, but unconsciously assume that change is difficult, or slow, or fragile. Those assumptions matter more, because the body isn't responding to hope, it's responding to expectation. Expectation is quieter than hope, more stable, and far more influential. This explains something many people experience but rarely articulate. They feel momentary relief after a conversation, a realization, a session. Then the old pattern returns, not because the relief was false, but because the underlying assumption remained unchanged. The state shifted briefly, then settled back into what felt normal. Normal is powerful. The body doesn't chase improvement, it maintains equilibrium. So the real question becomes, what does equilibrium look like for you right now? Not what you want it to look like, what it actually feels like to exist in your own system. This is not a question you answer intellectually. You feel it. And feeling it, without trying to change it, is already a shift, because observation without resistance loosens the pattern. Here's another way to approach this. Imagine consciousness as the primary field, not as an idea, but as the organizing principle. The body is a pattern within that field. Patterns persist when the conditions that generate them persist. Change the conditions, and the pattern reorganizes. No force required. This is why alignment is emphasized over control. Control implies opposition. Alignment implies cooperation. The body cooperates naturally when it's not being overridden by conflicting signals. Those signals often come from definitions like, "I need to get rid of this." "I can't be okay until this changes." "My life is on hold because of this." Each of these creates a condition. The body reflects it faithfully, not because it wants to keep you stuck, but because it's consistent. Consistency is neutral. It doesn't judge content. It mirrors structure. Around this point in the exploration, many people notice a quiet resistance arise. A thought like, "So am I supposed to just accept everything?" That question reveals an assumption that acceptance equals stagnation. From this perspective, acceptance is not resignation. It's the end of internal friction. When friction ends, movement becomes possible. Think about it this way. If you're pushing against a door that opens inward, effort keeps it closed. The moment you stop pushing, it opens naturally. The body often works the same way. The effort to fix can be the pressure that maintains the state. This doesn't mean you ignore signals or refuse support. It means you stop making the condition your identity. Identity is the strongest stabilizer there is. Whatever you identify as, you reinforce. This is where the idea of parallel versions becomes practical rather than abstract. At any moment, there is a version of you that is struggling with the body, and a version that isn't. Not in the future, now. You don't jump to that version through force. You align with it by matching its state. That state is often quieter than expected, less dramatic, less intense, more ordinary. And that ordinariness is exactly why it's overlooked. People expect healing to feel like victory, but alignment often feels like neutrality, like not needing to fight anymore. That's when the body begins to reorganize, because it's no longer receiving mixed signals. Let's reset again. So far, nothing here requires denying physical reality. It requires understanding how physical reality is selected. Selection happens through resonance. Resonance happens through state. State is shaped by definitions. Definitions are often inherited unconsciously. This is why intentional forgetting plays a role. You didn't forget how this works by accident. You forgot so you could experience immersion, so you could take the body seriously, so consequences would feel real, so choice would matter. Remembering doesn't erase that experience. It contextualizes it, and context reduces suffering, not by removing sensation, but by removing meaning that no longer applies. Pain with meaning feels heavy. Pain without imposed meaning feels informational. The body relaxes when interpretation relaxes. Here's something subtle that emerges around the 10-minute point for many listeners. They realize they've been trying to outthink the body, but the body doesn't respond to logic. It responds to coherence. Coherence is felt, not argued. You can't reason yourself into alignment. You can notice when you're not aligned. And noticing without judgment allows alignment to return naturally. This is why silence is sometimes more effective than analysis. Not external silence, internal. The moment you stop narrating the problem, the system recalibrates. Not instantly, but inevitably, because systems seek balance. Let's ground this with a simple analogy. Think of your body like an instrument. When it's tuned, it resonates cleanly. When it's out of tune, there's distortion. You don't fix an instrument by yelling at it. You adjust tension. State is tension. When internal tension eases, resonance returns. This is why people sometimes experience improvement when they stop obsessing over improvement. The obsession was the tension. The body didn't need fixing, it needed space. Space is created by allowance. Allowance is created by trust, not blind trust. Structural trust. Trust that the body is not against you. Trust that symptoms are not moral judgments. Trust that coherence is possible. That trust doesn't come from belief. It comes from recognition. Recognition that the body has always been responding, even when you didn't like the response. That consistency is not cruelty, it's reliability. And reliability can be worked with. As we move forward, the next layer will explore how choice operates beneath conscious intention and why habits feel automatic until they're seen clearly. Because once you understand how choice actually functions, the idea of being stuck begins to dissolve, not because effort increases, but because friction decreases. Before we go there, take a quiet moment to reflect. Has there been a time when letting go of the need to change something actually allowed it to change? You don't need to answer out loud. Just notice if something surfaces. We'll build on that awareness. As we move into this final stretch, something important becomes clearer, not as a conclusion, but as a pattern you may already recognize. Up to now, we've talked about the body as responsive, about state as primary, about alignment as cooperation rather than effort. Now we're going to look at why choice often feels absent, even when it's operating constantly. Because many people don't feel like they're choosing their physical experience. They feel like they're reacting to it. But reaction is not the absence of choice. It's choice running automatically. Automatic doesn't mean unconscious forever. It means familiar. Most of what you do each day happens without deliberate thought. You don't decide how to breathe. You don't plan how to stand or sit. You don't consciously instruct every muscle. Yet the system functions. The same is true for how you inhabit yourself. There is a version of you that feels natural to be. That version has posture, tone, energy. The body reflects that version consistently. When people say they feel stuck, what they're often describing is identification with a familiar version of self, not because it's preferred, but because it's known. Known feels safe, even when it's uncomfortable. This is why change can feel threatening, even when it's desired. Not because the new state is bad, but because it's unfamiliar. The body doesn't resist healing, it resists unpredictability. So the real shift doesn't come from pushing toward a better version. It comes from making the next version feel coherent. Coherence is not excitement, it's stability. When a healthier state feels stable, the body follows. This is where the idea of choice becomes subtle. You are always choosing, but not always consciously. Choice happens at the level of definition. What you define as me becomes your center of gravity. That definition includes what you expect from your body, what you assume will happen next, what you consider possible. Those assumptions aren't always verbal, they're embodied. You feel them as posture, as tension, as ease or contraction. The body is reading those signals constantly. So when someone asks, how do I choose differently? The answer isn't willpower, it's awareness. You don't change choice by fighting it. You change choice by seeing it clearly. Once seen, it loses its automatic hold. This is why habits dissolve when they're fully recognized. Not judged, not resisted, recognized. Recognition removes the illusion of inevitability, and inevitability is what keeps patterns running. Let's pause and reset again. At this stage, we're not looking for dramatic insight. We're noticing how quietly this operates. You're not choosing pain, you're choosing familiarity. You're not choosing limitation, you're choosing consistency. And consistency can shift. When the internal environment changes, the body recalibrates, not because it was commanded to, but because it has no reason to maintain the old pattern. This is where the idea of suffering as misalignment becomes practical. Suffering isn't punishment, it's friction. Friction happens when movement is attempted without alignment. Remove the friction, and movement becomes smooth. The body prefers smooth. It seeks efficiency. Efficiency is coherence in motion. That's why forcing change often backfires. Force adds friction. Allowance removes it. Allowance doesn't mean passivity. It means accuracy. Accurately seeing where you are without trying to be elsewhere. From that accuracy, movement arises naturally. This is one of the quiet paradoxes of this perspective. The moment you stop trying to heal, healing becomes possible. Not because effort was wrong, but because effort was aimed at the wrong level. Effort belongs to action. Healing belongs to state. State changes when definitions change. Definitions change when they're questioned, not aggressively, honestly. This is where the role of intentional forgetting becomes relevant again. You forgot this process so that identification with the body would feel complete, so that pain would feel personal, so that experience would feel real. That immersion gave depth to choice. Now, remembering doesn't undo that immersion, it softens it. You still experience the body, you still feel sensations, but they no longer define you, they inform you. That distinction is subtle but profound. Information invites response. Identity demands defense. The body relaxes when it's no longer defending identity, because defense is tension. When identity loosens, tension releases. Release doesn't always feel dramatic. Often it feels anticlimactic, like nothing special happened, and yet something changed. This is why many people overlook real shifts. They expect fireworks. They get quiet, but quiet is powerful. Quiet is where coherence stabilizes. Around the 20-minute point in this kind of exploration, something else often emerges. A realization that healing isn't a destination. It's a side effect of alignment. When alignment becomes the priority, outcomes reorganize naturally. This doesn't mean outcomes are ignored. They just aren't chased. Chasing implies distance. Alignment implies presence. Presence is where the body updates. You don't update a system from outside it. You update it from within. That's what state is. This is also why comparison is disruptive. When you compare your body to someone else's, you introduce external definitions. Those definitions don't match your internal state. Mismatch creates noise. Noise creates tension. Tension maintains patterns. The body doesn't need ideals, it needs clarity. Clarity is internal consistency. That consistency doesn't come from copying another version of health. It comes from inhabiting your own coherence. This is deeply individual, quietly personal. No one else can define it for you, and no one else needs to witness it. This is why awakening in this sense isn't dramatic. It's private. It looks like living more simply in your own system, responding instead of reacting, listening instead of fighting, noticing instead of narrating. The body follows that shift because it's no longer being pulled in multiple directions. This is also where effort transforms. Effort becomes participation instead of control. You still take actions. You still respond to information, but action flows from alignment, not urgency. Urgency creates contraction. Flow creates ease. Ease doesn't mean lack of intensity. It means absence of resistance. The body thrives in that environment. Before we move into the final moments, let's reset once more. Nothing here requires you to believe anything new. It only invites you to notice what's already happening. Notice how the body responds to internal shifts. Notice how symptoms fluctuate with perception. Notice how tension increases when you argue with experience. And notice how relief appears when you stop arguing. That relief isn't the end, it's the doorway. Beyond it, things continue unfolding, not in a straight line, but in a coherent one. This is where the idea of parallel versions becomes less conceptual and more experiential. You don't jump timelines, you slide states. You don't abandon the body, you inhabit a different relationship with it. The body you experience reflects that relationship. So when someone says, "My body obeys," it's not about dominance. It's about resonance. The body follows the tone that's set, quietly, faithfully, always has. As we come to the end of this exploration, there's no need to summarize. Nothing here needs to be wrapped up, because this isn't a lesson to remember, it's a pattern to notice. And once noticed, it keeps revealing itself, in small ways, in ordinary moments, in how you sit, in how you breathe, in how you interpret sensation. You may find that certain things feel less urgent, less charged, not because they disappeared, but because they're no longer central. The center shifted, and when the center shifts, everything reorganizes around it. That's how systems work, quietly, inevitably. If something in this exploration resonated, it's not because it was new, it's because it matched something you already knew, before words. You don't need to do anything with that recognition. Just allow it to remain available. It will surface when relevant. That's enough. And if you feel inclined, you might reflect on this in your own way. In what moments does your body feel most cooperative? Not controlled, not managed, but naturally responsive. There's no need to answer now. The noticing itself is the shift. And from there, things continue, not toward an ending, but into coherence.